Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaeli Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. So how do we create key performance indicators? Well, that's a great question. But the first question that I want to ask is, why do we even hire people? We hire people on our team to produce wealth for our business. So if that is true, then how do we make sure each and every employee is in fact producing and perpetuating profit for our company? Well, we use something called KPI or key performance indicators. Now, this is really an important measurement of how well your business is doing. And on this podcast, we really talk a lot about leadership and my core philosophy that in order to design a lucrative, deeply satisfying, freedom-based business where you're not a slave to your self-created job, then you must build and lead a high-performing team and have systems in place to quote-unquote automate their performance. So what is a key performance indicator? Well, if you look it up in Wikipedia, the definition says a KPI is a quantifiable measure used to evaluate the success of an organization, employee, etc., in meeting objectives for performance. So, no offense to my practice management and business genius colleagues out there, but I think this term is just way overcomplicated. I'm all about making it simple, so I want to take a minute today to explain to you what a KPI is and how to create them for your business in a way that is not complicated, but very simple. All right, so we have to be able to measure activities in our business to determine if they are working or not, right? So just like if we're investing in marketing, we don't actually know if the marketing is working if we're not measuring where the results of the investment that we inputted are actually yielding for us, right? So we have to track and measure things. And this is the same with any aspect of our company. So in the beginning, we sometimes hire people to do a job without actually knowing specifically what activities within that job will in fact directly produce profit. And I think that's where a lot of practices who have been in business for a while and aren't really sure how to create KPI get hung up. Because in the early days, we kind of are just winging it a little bit. We'll either essentially base our performance metrics on one thing, right? Because the early employees are really wearing a lot of hats. So sometimes we're not really sure if we're going to have them continue to do the same thing they're doing or if we're going to give them a new job or a new task. We're kind of just doing things on the fly. As we get into a point where we really want to start measuring and tracking, we need to kind of put these systems in place and have an idea of what specifically we want to measure. And one of my favorite leadership coaches, she's Chris Plackey, she would say, don't make performance an opinion, right? Like, hey, Susie, you did a good job today. Or, hey, Susie, step it up. We actually want to have something to measure. And so let's think of KPI in the business kind of like vital signs in the body. When you have a health assessment, you go see your doctor, you get kind of like an overview of how the body is doing. And these results will provide a high-level diagnostic of how healthy your body is. And by the way, they're all related. So if the heart isn't functioning properly, it could essentially shut down the rest of the body. You get the point. So this is very similar to the business. Your KPI might include metrics such as revenue, profit, or cost cutting for efficiency, patient retention, compliance, etc. It's a dashboard for your business. It's not 15 things, maybe just 3 to 5 per role. And so I'll get questions regularly asked like, hey, Kaeli, what about the front office coordinator? How do I actually know what kind of direct monetary impact they will add? So in our academy, we work through this by designing a really beautiful catch-all job description that clearly communicates what employees should be held accountable for. So first we design expectations that each role should deliver on, and then we create measurements assigned to each specific expectation within that role or function of the business. We first do this by understanding our big vision goal and then reverse engineering that into quantitative objectives. We like to do this by answering two important questions. One, what are the vital signs of my business? And how do I know that we are tracking them? And two, what are the core vital signs of each specific role? And how do I know that we are tracking them, right? Just creating them isn't enough. We actually have to track and measure them. And so we want to ask ourselves, how are we doing that? So here's an exercise we did with one of our Academy members, Dr. C. We started with a list of expectations. So first it was like 50 long to start, right? So we took one employee. She took a week to jot down everything she expected to come from that role. You know, all the things I want her to do this, do that, answer the phones, communicate with a patient this way, staple that paper that way, like literally everything she could think of. And then once we had this punch list of 50 things, then we started to see trends in these expectations. So for example, some were more related to patient interaction, some related to administrative tasks like scanning and organizing. So we created about 10 buckets out of the 50 and then consolidated them into 5 total when we saw that several had been overlapping. So for example, cleaning rooms was listed in maybe 4 different ways that really fell ultimately under a compliance and safety measure for her. Then we took a look at business goals, so really the big vital signs, and reverse engineered how these would be assigned back into key tasks that could be measured in each specific role. It was fun. Now, I know that it can feel overwhelming, and seriously, these business geniuses out there make their terminology sound so fancy, but it really is not. It's basic, and your KPI should be customized to your business, the health of your business, not necessarily just a cookie cutter template, not necessarily just revenue and profit. So if you are looking to get some strategic guidance on how to translate the vital signs of your business into very tangible metrics, you can book a free strategy call with me to learn more about our services and see if there is some untapped opportunity to shore up your business leadership systems to better optimize your current operations and really create a win-win culture for you, your business, and its people. Thanks so much. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Fierce Factor. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe so you can automatically get new shows every week. I'd also love it if you left us a review. And come join the conversation online. If you're an aesthetic industry owner, operator, or leader, please join my free Facebook group, The Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, a community of ambitious, purpose-driven professionals who collaborate and share best practices for growth in business and life. I'm honored you tuned in.